Any other reason?
I don't
Okay. Let me talk about that. The title on killing a tree, right, which is written by Gieve Patel, right, so is highly, appropriate and thought-provoking. It influenced to the mind, thoughts. Why? Because as it, presents the central theme on killing a tree is nothing but a central theme of the poem. So, by portraying the cutting of a tree as an act of what? As an act of killing or to murder. An act of what? Killing or to murder. Murder whom? So, murder a tree. Right. So, by choosing the word killing rather than cutting, the poet should have written no uncutting a tree. Right. He mentioned unkilling a tree. So, Gieve Patel emphasizes what? That trees are not just inanimate object. Isn't it? So, like you can say that a log of the wood has been cut or called as broken. We say what? Log of the tree or the wood has been broken. Isn't it? But do we say that what means it got injured? No. Similar to that, when the poet stated that killing rather than cutting, Gieve Patel emphasizes what? That trees are not just inanimate object. It doesn't mean that trees do not have life, right? So the poet tries to do what? The poet tries to point out nothing but trees are living beings with their own life force, and they deserve what? They deserve respect and empathy. What do they deserve? Respect and empathy. The title itself is a powerful statement that challenges. The title itself is a what? Powerful challenges, right? So, or a statement that challenges the reader to consider the violent and often unnecessary destruction of nature as an ethical issue. It is what? An ethical issue. So, through the title, Gieve Patel tries to do what? Draws attention. Right? Whom? Now, to humanity's indifference towards nature. Indifference toward nature. By framing what? By framing deforestation. Do you understand the meaning of deforestation?
Yes.
Right. So, by framing deforestation as a killing. So, the poet highlights the brutality, the cruelty involved in destroying a tree. Equating or parallel with what? Parallel with taking a life of someone. Right? So, or taking of a life, just as killing a person is irreversible. You cannot get back the life of a human being once you murdered it. Likewise, means you destroy or you kill a tree, it means you destroy it, you devastate. Right? So, two is the destruction of a tree, which Patel or Gieve Patel described as a complex. Complex means what? That called as a very difficult. So, life-giving organism that has grown and thrived over many years. Now, the tree has what? Means the tree is considered as a life-giving organism. Isn't it? So, and that takes many years to grow and, prosper. So, the title not only reflects what? Reflects, you can say that a physical process. Physical process. So, physical process of uprooting a tree. Uprooting a tree means what? To remove the root of the tree from the soil. but also serves as a metaphor. Metaphor for the what? Metaphor for the larger, you can say that, yeah, larger issue of environmental degradation. Environmental degradation means you are making down the environment, and that is caused by what? That is caused by humans' greed and humans, you can say, insensitivity. Humans' insensitivity. So, in essence, the title On Killing a Tree is a justified or a poignant call, right? So, to recognize or to understand the inherent or the means actual value of nature, requesting readers to do what? Reconsider the consequences of what? Deforestation. Consequences of the deforestation, and to treat trees with the respect they deserve. It suggests that cutting down a tree is a more than act of destruction. It is a morally significant action that has far-reaching implications of the environment and for humanity itself, isn't it? Right? It is a what? Morally important action that has far-reaching implication for the environment and for humanity itself. Right? That is why the title is given, which is called as a means on killing a tree. Got my point? Why the title justified? Now, let's go to the poem and understand what the poem tries to tell us. Now, if you go to the poem, so how many stanzas this poem have and how many lines the poem have? If you see that the poem have nothing but 36 lines. Okay, the poem have 36 lines. And 36 lines, it indicates that what? Each line presents with some kind of importance. So, the first line, before we go, we can understand the Killing a Tree by Gieve Patel explores what through the poem? Now, the poet explores the resilience of a tree and the difficult, resilience and means the difficult resilience of a tree and the difficult that the killing of a tree. Almost, if you want to kill a tree, you follow the violent process. What do you follow? You follow the violent process required to kill it. And that serves as a metaphor for a direct comparison for humanity's often destructive relationship with nature. Right? So, let's go through the poem and understand each line of the poem. The poet begins with the line called as it takes much time to kill a tree. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. Right? So, here the speaker states that what? Killing a tree is not a quick or simple act. So, the image that the poet tries to show before the reader suggests that what? Nature is resilient and a small wound, that a jab of the knife, right, is not enough to destroy something as deeply rooted and as strong as a tree, right? As strong as a tree. Got my point? So, simply you cut the tree or you jab through your knife cannot kill a tree. Why? Now, because means you can say that nature is the part of the the tree is the part of the nature, and like nature, the tree is also resilient, right? And it's very difficult to kill a tree. Why? That we will learn also further. So a small wound by you can say that jab of the knife cannot kill a tree, right? So why? Now because The life lies inside the soil. What is that life? That called as a root of the tree. So the poet also said, it has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, and water. So it has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing what? Absorbing years of sunlight, air, and water. So, the poet wants to convey a message that the tree's growth is gradual. The tree's growth is gradual, and the tree's growth is gradual, sustained over time. Sustained over time. And it takes why it means you can say its growth is gradual, sustained over time, because if you see, it takes what? Nutrients from the earth. Like we say, no, it has slowly consuming the earth, rising out of it, consuming, then feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, and water. So that's what the poet stated. It takes nutrients from the earth, rising slowly and powerfully from it. And this slow consumption of elements like sunlight, air, and water, that implies what? A patient process. Patient process means what? Now, the tree carries the patient in it, and that patient process is called as means taking number of years of survival and the strength that has built up over years. Understood? Then the poet stated that what? And out of its leprous hide, sprouting leaves. Right? So the poet stated that the word leprous influences or evokes the tree's rough, scad bark. Scad bark means rough bark. So suggesting that what its appearance or its outer look appearance is not beautiful, but that outer appearance is a testament. Testament means what? That's something called as evidence, right? And the evidence of what? Now, evidence of its resilience and capacity for regeneration, right? Evidence for what? Its resilience and capacity for what? Regeneration. It has the means ability to regenerate, right? So, despite its scars or spot marks, the tree, continues to produce new leaves, green twigs, we say, new leaves, and that symbolizes life and renewal. Got the point? So, therefore, it is stated, and out of its leprous hide, sprouting leaves. The poet also said, so hack and chop. But this alone won't do it. Not so much pain will do it. The bleeding bark will heal it. Right? So, hacking and chopping. Right? So, you can say that by doing hacking, chopping, you cannot give pain or you cannot bleed the bark. Right? So, because the bleeding bark, that will heal the pain. Isn't it? So, the speaker emphasizes the chopping the tree will not kill it. It will still survive. Which will still survive? That called as a tree. Right? It will survive and regenerate. The tree's bark means outer cover. So, possibly bleed when you cut it. Right? But it has the strength to do what? It has the strength to heal and grow again. And that's symbolizing what? Nature's tenacity and ability to... Tenacity means that's something called as obstinate in behavior, jiddi type, right? That's what is nothing but a nature's tenacity or jiddi or obstinate, right? Stubborn nature, right? Why? Now, because it shows the tenacity and also ability for doing what? Not to means bear pain, tolerate pain. Endure pain means tolerate pain, isn't it? So who tolerate pains? The tree. The tree, right? The tree has been compared with the nature. So, and you would find out that means how does the nature get pain? So, the tree is the part of the nature, and when you hack and chop it, you find out or you feel that what means the pain will be given to the tree, but no, right? Hacking and chopping that alone kill the tree, or called as not giving so much pain will do it, right? Why? The bleeding bark will heal that. So that is why the poet stated that the trees have the tenacity or ability to bear or tolerate pain. The poet also said, and from close to the ground, and from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs. You cut the tree. You feel that what you kill the tree, right? But after cutting the tree or after killing the tree, what do you find out? Now, you felt like the tree has been cut down and killed. But out of its, you can say that out of its close to the ground, right? You will find out it arises curled green twigs. Curled means what? That's something called as not in a straight manner, right? So you find out the miniature bough. The meaning of miniature bough is called as a small branch. Small branches of the tree, which if unchecked will expand again. And if you thought that you cut the tree, you killed the tree, but means after some days you would find out that the small green twigs come out, right? And which is nothing but called as a small branch, right? Or small branches. And if you not checked it, so it will expand again and become again in the same form it will take. So even when cut down, the tree continues to fight back by sending out new small branches, and you find out that this resilience that presents, life continues, right? Even when suppressed or even when trying to stop it. If you leave it alone, these small shoots or these small branches will grow back to their original size, and you can find out it restores the tree's full form. It restores the tree's full form, right? So, no, the root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be roped, it is to be tied, it is to be pulled out, snapped out, right? So, the speaker describes the true way to kill a tree is what? Uprooting it. What do you mean by uprooting? That called as a straightly remove from the soil, right? The roots are its a foundation. The roots are its a foundation. So deeply embedded, deeply present in the or connected in the earth, right? So by snapping or pulling the roots out, by snapping means broken. By snapping or pulling, so removing from the earth, right? So or removing the roots from the earth, so the tree loses its connection. Losing its connection to whom? Now, loses its connection to its life resources. What is its life resources? The life resources lies where? In that soil, right? So the tree loses its connection to its life sources. The violent imagery, the violent imagery, the violent imagery suggests what? What is that violent? What is that violence? The violence is called as means uproot the tree, so that the root which is connected to the soil, right, so will lose its connection to the life. Got my point? So, and this is what called as the violent. The violent imagery suggests that what? The effort required to disrupt something that's so deeply ingrained, that's so deeply strong, that's so deeply ingrained and strong. The poet stated also, or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed. So the earth cave refers to the what? The earth cave refers to the soil, where the tree's roots have grown and hidden for years. Right? Isn't it? So removing the tree entirely from the soil exposes the root, and root that considers a strength. Right? So it's a root which had remained hide inside the soil many years, and that shows the true destruction of the tree, that involved holding it of its hidden part, life-giving support system. So therefore, so the poet stated that you need to pull out entirely the root out from the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed. The source. What is that source? The root. The root is the source. And how does it look like? White and weight. White and weight. White means you understand? White dikna, color. Weight is called as a. How do you feel? You feel like what? That somebody put the water onto it. Somebody put water onto it. So therefore weight. The most sensible hidden for years inside the earth. So that root is what? Sensitive and hidden inside the root, hidden inside the soil for years inside the earth. The roots therefore described as white and weight, and that symbolize the tree's vulnerability. What do you mean by vulnerability? That easily affected. Easily affected. So, although trees appear strong, their source of life is, fragile. Fragile means weak in condition and very sensitive. Hide inside the soil for many years, right? It cannot be visible. So, but when you remove it, when you uproot from the soil, you find out you exposes and damages this source. The source, which is the root, is what finally brings the tree to an end. Brings the tree to an end. So the poet said, then the matter of scorching and choking. Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering. What do you mean by that? Then the matter means then only you kill the tree. How? How do you know that the tree is being killed? Now you can find out the tree is being killed because you find out that the tree gets a scorching. The tree gets means choking. Choking means unable to breathe. Scorching means called as means under the sun it becomes dry, right? So and it doesn't get the air. So and it turns brown in color. Which one turns brown in color? That the root. So and finally the sensitive root turns hard, right? And twisting and withering. Twisting means what? They gets turn around and also causing to die. Isn't it? So therefore the poet said that once you uproot the tree's sensitive part root, the tree's final death begins. So Without the nourishment, without the taken care from the earth, the roots are exposed to the harsh element. What are the harsh element? Now that's something called as they expose themselves before the sun and before the air, right? And causing the tree to wither. Wither means causing to die and die. The phrases scorching, choking, and withering influence a slow, painful death. Influence what? A slow, painful death. As the tree dries out and decays. Isn't it? So, and then it is done. And then it is done. Finally, the poet said, and then it is done. So, finally, the process of killing the tree is complete. The simplicity of the last line does what? Now, contrast with the detailed description. Contrast with the detailed description of destruction, or perhaps suggesting an emptiness or a finality, right, after such a laborious act or process. Got my point? So, honor killing a tree uses the tree as what? A symbol of nature's strength, right? So, and resilience against human attempts to destroy it. The poem on killing a tree serves as a reminder. Reminder of what? Reminder of how deep rooted life is. How deep rooted life is, and how extreme the effort is to completely, sever it. So, and reflecting the difficulty or complexity and often bad relationship between humans and the environment. So, Gieve Patel's poem, this particular poem on killing a tree, is nothing but a powerful presentation that compare for the continuous destruction influenced on nature or inflicted on nature, and that emphasizes both nature's resilience and humanity's impact on the natural world. Got the point?
What's the meaning of that miniature box?
Small branches. Miniature means mini, bow means branch.
Is there any the
Poetic device.
rhyming?
Rhyming scheme, poetic devices. Yeah, that I am going to tell you. Uh, Let me point out the poet offers a clear hunting meditation on the devastation, the destruction that caused by deforestation and the willful destruction. The willful means what? With understood destruction of nature. The poet Patel, Gieve Patel, a writer closely associated with the green movement, right? And known for his what? Environmental themes. So, critics humanity's thoughtless exploitation of the environment, and in this poem, the poet presents the cutting down of a tree as a violent, almost murder-like act, and treating the tree not just as a plant but as a living, breathing being, right? So, if you see that the poet tries to tell that a life force that resists destruction, like Patel begins by emphasizing the resilience of a tree, describing how it cannot be, felled by a single knife that wound or superficially injure. Instead, a tree has absorbed the earth's nutrients, sunlight, and water over years, and that made it turns into a complex, interconnected life form. So, Gieve Patel's choice to picturize the tree's destruction as a what? As a murder that creates an immediate emotional appeal. Urging readers to understand that trees, like humans, grow slowly, grow mature, and finally have a life that deserves respect and protection. Second, the poet also said that persistence and pain, right? So, even after being hacked and chopped, Patel describes that the tree will heal itself, right? As if a bleeding bark will heal. His comparison of a tree's sap to human blood strengthens the emotional imagery, showing that trees too experience pain and can heal from injuries. That is nothing but a concept appeals to the reader's empathy. And this resilience, however, is ultimately broken when humanity acts with a greater brutality, pulling out its roots, right? So, and trying to kill it. So, the poets also stated in the last that called as the act of, uprooting. The action of uprooting, a violent metaphor of a killing, isn't it? So, Gieve describes the final or deadly act of uprooting the tree that as the ultimate act of violence. And this act likened to tearing out the tree's heart. It is a brutal image or cruel image that underlines humanity's callousness. Callousness is called as a carelessness towards nature. The repetition of pulled out, and you talk about the verbs like roped, tied, and snapped out that clearly gives nothing but a forceful way to kill the tree and shows the brutality. And it paints an image of the tree as a helpless victim in a merciless act of destruction. Gieve Patel appeals to the reader's conscience and creating the picture the roots as the tree's vulnerable essence, hidden under the or inside the trees, hidden inside the earth, right? And only to be exposed and destroyed if you uproot it, right? So, next you would find out the decay and the death of the tree. In the final lines, Patel compares the decaying. Decaying means what? Going down. The tree to a corpse. So, the tree now animate to inanimate, turning a dead body. So, using images of browning, hardening, twisting, and withering as the tree's life. So tree's life turning what? Brown in color, hard in structure, twisting in shape, and causing to die final. Right? So the transformation from vibrant life to hardened death that shows what? The loss of the tree's life. The loss of what? The loss of the tree's life, force and its decomposition. So it influences the image of a human body that deteriorates over time by ending on this image. So Patel shows the irreversible nature means you cannot reverse, right? Nature of the tree's destruction, and it highlights both the permanence, right? Both the permanence and also means insensitive, right? Senselessness, stupidity of means humans' behavior to kill the plant, kill the tree into the death. So finally, we talk about a critique of poem. So Gieve Patel tries to show the human greed and insensitivity. So insensitivity. So Patel's poem goes beyond simply narrating or describing the act of tree felling, right? So he criticizes or he critiques the human motivation behind such destruction. So what is the motive behind destroying the tree? That's called as a greed. That's called as a disrespect or disregard. For whom? For nature's role in sustaining life. And this deeper message that appeals to readers to respect trees not just as resources, but as you can say, living entities vital to the ecosystem. So Patel's voice speak for the trees and expressing an urgent request for humanity to understand its role in protecting, not exploiting the environment. So if you talk about that, the broader environmental message that the poet has try to give here. So on killing a tree is not only about a tree being cut down, it is a metaphor for the ecological crisis, right, that created by rampant destruction and exploitation of natural resources. And Patel's strong picture and polite tone that call for the readers to reflect on their personal relationship with nature, requesting them to reject the blind consumerism and thoughtless destruction that defines what? That define modern life. He implies that each tree cut down has consequences or result for the entire ecosystem. And this affecting climate, air quality, and ultimately human survival. So the final idea we can draw here through his powerful picture or metaphors, Patel draws attention to the deeper issue surrounding deforestation, presenting it as a moral crime against nature. The poem serves as a stark or clear reminder of humanity's duty to protect the environment and request readers to reconsider their own action. The vivid imagery, empathetic tone, and thought provoking language that forces readers to feel the pain of a tree and question the true cost of such progress. Isn't it? Now, let's talk about some of the poetic devices. So, the poem on killing a tree by Gieve Patel employs several poetic devices, right? So, that actually increases its clear depiction of deforestation and bring out the poem's emotional and moral impact. So the primary poetic devices you can find out personification, right? So why personification? Because the tree is given what? Human qualities to emphasize its status as a living being. The terms like bleeding bark, the terms like leprous height, and the description of the tree's strength and sensitivity make it appear as though the tree can feel pain, right? The tree mirroring human emotions and suffering. Second is called as a metaphor, right? So Patel uses metaphors throughout the poem. So throughout the poem to express what? The complexity of killing a tree. The leprous hide is a metaphor, right? Leprous hide is a metaphor for the rough bark of the tree, and the bleeding bark that symbolizes the sapling, right? That flows out when the tree is cut. Additionally, the roots are described as what? The strength of the tree, suggesting they are the core of its existence and vitality. So therefore, it will be called as a metaphor. So what we can find out? Personification, metaphor. Then what else? Simile. So we know that similes are used to draw comparison that makes the tree's connection to life, isn't it? For example, the tree's struggle to survive is compared to human resilience and vitality. So the line "the bleeding bark will heal" is an indirect simile suggesting that what? The human wounds, a tree's wound, will heal over time. So then the fourth one is called as imagery. Imagery means indicating as a Patel uses strong visual imagery to paint a vivid picture of the violence inflicted on the tree. Descriptions such as a bleeding bark, scorching, choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, they create a powerful mental image of the tree's destruction. and appeals to the reader's sense and demands for empathy for the tree. So you also find out the poet has given irony, right? So what is that? Now there is a sense of irony in the poem as the act of cutting down a tree is indicated as a difficult and requiring sustained, survive, cruel effort, contrary to the common belief that chopping down a tree is simple and harmless. The poem sarcastically highlighted the continuous needed to completely destroy the tree, which ironically reflects humanity's relentless drive to destroy nature. So we also find out repetition. So words and phrases are repeated to emphasize what? Emphasize the intensity of the action and the struggle involved in killing the tree. For instance, pulled out is repeated to stress the violent act of uprooting, and out is repeated in out from the earth cave, out of the anchoring earth, and they emphasize the complete severance from its life sources. We also find out symbolism like the tree symbolizes nature and life, while its destruction represents environmental harm caused by human actions. The act of pulling out the roots is a symbolic of what? Humanity's disregard for nature's foundational role in sustaining life on earth. We also find out enjambment. So when we say that enjambment, Patel uses enjambment where you can say lines flow without punctuation, right, at the end, and creates what? A continuous rhythm, relentless rhythm, the mirrors of unproduction and a drawn out process of destroying a tree and making the reader what? Making the reader feel the continuous effort or prolonged effort involved in killing tree. So beside that, you also find out the last one that called as alliteration. Like the poem contains instances of alliteration which add what? A rhythmic quality. Right? For example, bleeding bark, burr, white and weight, wow, WW. So these use the repetition of consonant sound and to emphasize certain images and enhance the poem's musicality. Isn't it? So, in that case, each of the devices contributes to the poem's emotional depth and strengthens Patel's message about the brutality of deforestation. Through this technique, the poem becomes more than just a description of killing a tree or cutting down a tree. Right? Did you get the point?
I have a question.
Oh, no. I'll give you the question.
I have a question.
Yeah, ask.
Is the poet Indian?
Gieve Patel. What do you think that?
Title seems like Indian, but the first name doesn't.
How do you think that means the poet is Indian?
Patel.
Gieve Patel it is stated, not. Hmm? Hmm.
Patel is a title used in India, that's why.
So, what do you think that? I told you in between that green movement. Where did that green movement occur? What do you mean by green movement?
The Green Revolution.
Green Revolution. So if you say that Gieve Patel is an Indian poet, right? So he is a playwright, he is a painter, he is a physician, was born in the year of 1940. And he is part of a group of Indian English, right? And he is a kind of a poet known for what his environmental concerns and themes that often critiques the exploitation of nature. So Patel is associated with the green movement, which I told you just now, green movement in literature. So, and the aim is to what? Raise awareness of ecological issues. What is the aim? The aim is to nothing but raise awareness on ecological issue or of ecological issues. His Gieve Patel's work, especially in poem like On Killing a Tree, and that highlights themes of environmental destruction, and human cruelty towards nature. So Patel's unique background as both a doctor and an artist, and influences his writing style, bringing what a blend of empathy and detailed observation to its poem, right? Next question you asked me, what kind of a poetic rhyming scheme the poem have, right? So the poem on a killing a tree does not follow a traditional rhyming scheme. So if it does not follow any traditional rhyming scheme, so you can consider the poem is written in free verse, right? So it means it lacks a consistent rhyming pattern or meter. So this choice reflects the raw, unstructured process of violence, right, that inflicted on the tree, and mirrors and confusion and unpredictable nature of destruction, right? In free verse, you can find out the poem's power comes not from rhyme but from vivid imagery, clear picture, strong diction, strong language, and variety of the breaks, which expresses the poem's message in a natural and conversational tone. So, that is what you would find out, isn't it? I hope you understood this. That's all.